Welcome to our first Player2 podcast for 2016. My name's Paul James and this is our Video Games Club. The first one that the site's ever done. Video Games Club, basically the three of us, myself, Paul James, Jay Parnis, Damo Camilleri with his nerd mug. We'll
also a cup that says nerd on
it. We'll basically sit down and, having played out a game that we've previously discussed, we'll talk through it.
But especially one of it, like a game that one of us has chosen that the others either haven't played or have played very little of, to try and bring it to the group.
Yeah.
Kind of like a book club.
Yeah, it basically operates just like an ordinary book club. So the three of us will then sit down, as we're doing right now, and discuss the game for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Book club.
So, kicking things off, Damo,
Yo.
you selected the game for this month. What was it?
It was Thomas Was Alone, man. Get on board the feels train. Shit. So, those that haven't played Thomas Was Alone, it's basically a game where the characters are formed by narration, and the characters being shapes that each have their own different shapes and ability, I guess you could say. So, now the first quote of the game, actually, is what they drop you into, and it's, oh shit.
Have you lost it?
Nah, there it is. Thomas was alone. Wow, a weird first thought to have. And it's just like, cool. And I think you just run the first mission, you just like run from left to right of the screen.
Yeah, pretty sure it's something like that.
And that's it. And then, like, you know, you get to meet more characters as you develop, and, you know, there's kind of puzzles, like, you know, what shapes go where and things like that.
And they're all different blocks as well.
Yeah, like,
It reminded me of, I don't know if you ever played it, but I think it's called, like, Traffic Jam or something like that. It's like, you got the different shaped cars, and you've got to get the yellow taxi at the end. You know the one I'm talking about? It's you know the one I'm talking about? It's basically like a little puzzle where you've got, like a bus, and then you'll have like a four-wheel drive or something, and they take up different sort of blocks. It's a movement puzzle. So it's kind of like those ones where you've got like the numbers 1 through, what is it, like 10 or something like that, or 12. And you sort of got to move them around one by one. So with this one, you've got different shaped cars. So you'll have like one that's 2 squares and pointing horizontally, so it can only move left to right. And you've got another one that'll go up and down. So you know, they sort of, you get the idea.
Yeah. So I first played this game a little while ago. My mate's like, all right, here you go. Here's something that you haven't played. Get on board the feels train, and I played it on PlayStation 4, and you can clock the whole thing in a couple of hours, which is really cool. But
well, yeah, my first experience with the game, I finished it while watching a game of footy.
Yeah.
Just played on the Vita and watched the footy in the meantime.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, and the thing is, like, at the very beginning, because the levels are so quick to complete, I kind of found myself, like, wanting to hear more of the narration. Like, is that all he's going to say? Like, you just kind of sit there and it's, bam.
Yeah, so
like,
I had that as well, but my issue is that I've played a lot of modern games, in terms of, I don't know, like your first-person shooters and shit like that are really bad when it comes to dialogue, because a lot of people just burn through games and dialogue will cut out other dialogue.
Yeah.
So it made the game, in part, a little slow in that sense, because I'm like, alright, well, I know the dialogue and the story is supposed to be important, so while he's talking, I have to stop what I'm doing. Just in case.
That was my issue, because I get too suckered into the actual gameplay of it, that when he's narrating at the start of each level or chapter or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. It's often not.
I actually kind of tuned out to what he was saying because I just kept moving through.
Yeah.
So I, prior to this podcast, had to refresh myself on what the story actually was, because I kind of missed it just because of the act of playing the game.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think it would actually run over itself.
No. No, it's actually all pretty timed in really well.
I mean, you can be going through. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily synced with what you're doing.
No, like
it
it's
was just it was a time-based thing.
Yeah,
like it was. So, if you switch this character, starts up some dialogue, and then once that dialogue's done, it'll then like boot up the next little bit that it had sort of banked and ready to go.
Yeah.
I did have some audio issues with the game. I did feel like it jumped. So I think there was one.
Is it on the technical side, or
yes, on the technical side. So I actually had some circumstances where it was where you switch to a character, and I switched to a few different characters, and I did actually miss some dialogue. in that way.
And just to clear up for those...
So I had to restart the level because I'm like, well, this is obviously important.
Just to clear up for those watching, listening, you played it on PC,
PC,
right?
yes, that's right. And I also had some really weird issues where background music from some levels kept playing with background music of the next level.
Oh, wow.
So I had like 3 sets of it was just a cacophony, and I had to quit the game and then open it up again.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's weird, man. I've never
really,
seen that.
But
really
again,
strange.
This is the good thing about the Video Games Club format, in that we all 3 of us played the same game, yet we've got different experiences.
Yeah.
You didn't have any tech issues.
Nah, man. Like, I played it on
I,
Steam and
then
PS4.
But then you've had a bunch, so...
Oh, look, I wouldn't necessarily say a bunch, and like the first one was a tech issue. That was just how I was playing the game, flicking from character to character.
Yeah. But what do you think of the guy's voice, though? The narrator? I can't remember his name.
It was alright. I mean, so if I had a comparison, I mean, you've got Portal 2, which has got that British comedian, who's got a similar sort of like a bit of a higher pitched voice, but still similar sort of timbre to his voice.
Yeah.
And then you've got Bastion, which you actually brought up.
Because I'm playing it on the Vita at the moment. So,
which, I mean, you want to talk about games that have story done by narration.
Yeah. I mean, look, that was like fucking Morgan
game.
Freeman talking to you, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna like,
shit melts you like
tough.
butter.
It's tough to beat. Yeah, it's tough to beat.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was alright, but
yeah, well, like, I liked it because it felt like you would, like, it really told a story. Like, because it paints the picture, really, of like how the characters grow.
well, do you want to outline that story a little bit then? Because we've kind of spoken in very loose terms about it, but...
Oh, well, Thomas is an AI program.
well, they're all AI programs.
They're all AI.
Like,
Well,
all the characters are AI
Well,
programs.
that's like, we're starting with Thomas, obviously.
So once you've done that, I'd like to sort of say some gripes that I had about the story, if you don't mind. So look,
I totally mind. I don't think you should fucking nitpick anything about this game, nerd mug. But
It's empty.
That's going to happen. Like,
I know it's gonna happen. I know, like,
But
I'm
that's
interested
saying-
to hear what you thought. But like,
look, I have like thought and rethought and made sure that it wasn't just first impression stuff that I'm going on, because like I did play it through for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's still fresh.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that like I took enough time to reflect on what I was thinking, and whether I think it is consistent with how I'll think about it in a week, a month.
And to clarify again for people, Jay City played it yesterday. It's totally possible to do it in the one.
Yeah, you knock it out in 3
I absolutely
hours.
did. I-
It's easy.
2.5 hours, if memory serves.
But
For me, it's been a few years since I played it. But
The first time I played it was 4, but I kept fucking up some of the puzzles. Like, I would do it in the most complicated way possible. Like, I would have one dude bouncing on one of the characters, and then I'd like jump, and then like just try and get this weird elevation of changing characters and doing it. And people are like, no, if you had just like done that, I'm like, you know how you can overthink something?
Oh, absolutely. And
But,
there was definitely that in that game. It didn't, because of the lack of instruction, you definitely were able to overthink some of the puzzles.
So Thomas's objective was, and this is how like the narrator puts it. Like, you can actually go online and download the whole script, which I did to get some of these points, because I was trying to make one of those word pictures. You know how like there's a picture that's just made of complete words. Yeah, because my friend wanted it as a sticker, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. He seems to be moving predominantly up and to the right, which might or might not be important. And my mate actually said that he would get that as a tattoo. Like, that's the only quote from the game he'd want as a tattoo as well, because it's just, that's it. Like Thomas at the start, he's just moving to the right and up, and then like later on, I think it's Claire, like the big square thing. She's starting to move to the left, and then you get the eeriness come through, where there's that like cloud shaped thing floating by the level, or it comes into the level, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And
well, so that was the thing. I didn't have that either, because so at the start of each sort of section, you've got a little piece of dialogue that is like a transcript. It's supposed to be like post-story, like flashback type text, and like right before all that stuff happened, they mentioned about like creating a program if like in the event that some programs end up meeting each other, because the idea is that they're supposed to be by themselves. They're designed to be alone. and if they come together, then you'll have a program that like removes them from each other. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is going to be a thing that ends up just like killing dudes, I assume. Because like it was pretty blatant. I mean, but that was the thing, because it like those little dialogue bits skip through quite quickly. I started just to like be like, all right, well, I guess I missed that then. I'm not going to reboot the whole like thing just to see that one little sentence.
Well, because I mean, before I played Thomas Was Alone, I played Journey, and so like I was really predominantly trying to get the bigger and bigger like stream of cloak scarf thing, and then when I'd done so well of not being hit by one of these big monster things, and when I got hit, I was like, oh my god, fuck, like all that just felt really bad, even though there was no words. And that's how I felt like in Thomas Was Alone. Like when that cloud thing starts taking them, I was like, holy shit, like all that work to get these characters to a journey, and it's just gone. Like you can't even do anything about it. And
I'll wait till you tell more of the story.
It has the effect. And like, so as the story progresses, like Thomas starts to realize certain things, like, he's helping out the, like, AI, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you get to this point, and that's, Thomas knew he'd never meet Nathan Fillion or a Transformer. He'd never visit Gotham City or eat at movies. It didn't matter. If his friends jumped into the creation matrix, they could give everyone else a similar, everyone else in the simulation a chance to. So they'd become self-aware of what was going on, and it's just, when that happened, I was fucking crushed. It was like, yeah, as a program, he's looking from the inside out, like from the whole world, and he doesn't realise that the Transformer isn't real, so you can never meet one. And I don't know if movies is an actual thing, or if that was just something Kevin Smith does for the movie. Like, I don't know, we're not in America, so I don't know that culture, but, it was really strange. Like, as the story progresses, they're fighting to give other programs a chance, and then, I don't know, it kind of felt like, like the Matrix, like when Neo reset the whole thing to give everyone the chance or something like that. And, then you get all these new characters that come along, and they're like, not just a one solid colour, they've got like the stripes and things, and they've gained the abilities of other, like, shapes.
So the way I found that part is that they had already, like, this was post them doing what they do. Obviously, I'm trying to steer clear from too many story spoilers in case people do want to go and play it after this. So, basically they sort of take the world, and they sort of shape it for themselves. Probably best if you don't have any more of those. And so, like, my assumption is that, like, it was them wanting to give their individual powers to anyone so that they had the opportunity to sort of, like, whatever feelings that they were having helping each other, they wanted their individual feelings to be passed on to someone else. I think there was a line that was about, I think it was John, I think, the tall one that could jump for fucking, and he was, like, egocentric, and he wanted to, like, was like, I shall help these peons because I am the best.
Yeah.
I'm the baddest of ass, and therefore I shall help you. And so, and there was a part, I think, late on where it was like he wanted to give other people the opportunity to feel heroic like that, or something like that. And so that was basically, like, those little sort of patches were them sort of that was them sort of giving people the opportunity to sort of feel that. And that was how I took it. I don't know if that was how you took it.
But I I never actually really thought about that.
Okay.
Like, I just thought that, I got caught up so much in, like, those characters. And just, like, how they shape and form. Like, even the arsehole shape. That's like, just hates on everyone that's there. Like, the narrator does that's just such a brilliant job of painting how these characters build up.
So here's what I took from the story. So, sorry, you said you were...
I was going to ask, but I'd suggest you're about to partially answer the question anyway. It's obvious that the story resonated with Damo a bit.
Yeah.
So me, not so much. Again, I kind of explained why. It's because I just made a beeline straight for the gameplay side of things. Did it resonate with you at all?
No, and here's why. The game is called Thomas Was Alone. He's alone for about 10 seconds. Then he's got a friend, and he's got 2 friends, and then
it's past tense. He was alone.
But he's like, you assume that the game starts you because it's his first thought. It says in the script it's his first thought, so you assume that he starts alone, but he's not alone for very long. And yes, then the game takes those friends away that he makes. And then the script literally says that he meets someone the instant later. So he's almost never alone, in fact. So that part didn't resonate with me at all. Whether you were taking people away or not, it didn't resonate because... So you go through the bits where you see all the different people, and it's like glass, like it's sort of whittling them down. But then when you go back and you start playing as another character, it actually says in the script from Thomas's perspective that the last thing he knew was that the pixel cloud, whatever it was coming for him, and then the next thing he knows, another shape is rescuing him from the cage that he's in. So there isn't even there's no time lapse in between that. So he's almost never alone. So that part didn't resonate with me. And then I realised the story is basically Tron. At the end, Thomas is just like, cool, here's my data disk, and that's it, game over. So I'm like, all right, so it didn't really resonate with me in terms of the isolation that it was trying to show, or that I thought it was going to try and show. I got the camaraderie. That's cool. That was fine, and people feeling like they're coming into their own. That was cool. And to give personality to shapes, like the fact that I can tell you the names of all the shapes. I mean, I did only play it yesterday, but like it's a shape. It's a square, a rectangle, whatever.
Yeah.
I could tell you the names of each of them. Like you've given personality to a square, like a 2D square.
Yeah.
Fine. That's cool. But I mean, then it also felt like you're kind of taking poetic license with an existing sort of type of story where it's like, oh, cool, I'm inside the Matrix, or oh, I'm in the data, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but like, how far can you stretch a story like that though?
AI,
like it's already been done.
AI becoming self-aware. Like, yeah, of course it's been done, but like, it keeps getting done in different ways. Like, you've got stuff like iRobot, and you've got stuff like The Matrix, and you've got stuff like Ghost in the Shell as well. Like,
yeah, but that's all outside the program. This is inside.
Well, I mean, Ghost in the Shell has a lot inside the program. The Matrix is set, most of the film is inside the program. You're inside the Matrix.
Yeah, but that's like... that's completely different. That's like almost like a dreamscape.
I don't see the difference.
This is more like Lawnmower Man, where you're inside like actual AI that's going to control something.
It's still virtual space. It's just a bleak virtual space. Like any of these things that has online worlds, it's just how they feel like portraying them. This one was designed to be bleak because or like sparse, because it was trying, or like at least my opinion is, it was trying to show you that it was simple. And that you had these simple programs becoming more intelligent and aware, which is fine. That's fine. I appreciate that. But my point is, like, you've basically just got, oh, cool, I can now... It's basically like Tron and The Matrix, and that's what the story is. Like, you say at the start of The Matrix, where the main character starts off, pretty sure, by himself in his room, and then very quickly meets one person, which becomes 2 people. Sound familiar? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then you've got, oh, cool, we go into the world. In this game, about halfway through, Thomas enters the internet for the first time. I mean, like, there are a lot of parallels. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe...
felt like you'd heard it all before.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it didn't feel like it was actually going down a new path. And again, like, the sort of, because I saw that thing where it's like, oh, we created, things to manage the data, like I could see a mile away. It didn't surprise me when people started to disappear, because like there was no shock value for it. I was like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly going to see that it's going to happen. But
I would have been happier.
It's sad that it happens. Like, that dude in the Matrix is going to betray everyone, but it's still fucking sad when he goes out and kills Dozer and fucking a bunch of other fucking B-named fucking characters in that movie.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, but it's like the way I saw it is like I could see the level menu as well. I'm like, okay, I'm halfway in, and you're already killing off my characters. Probably gonna not have them be completely killed. You know what I mean? Like, if it was at the end of the game and it's just they all die, and then like the last line of the text was, and Thomas was alone. Interesting for a final thought. Like, if they make it secular like that, I would have been like, all right, that was cool. You know what I mean? Like, I see what you do. Like, the bad guy never wins, and in this one, the bad guy didn't win. I mean, there was no real bad guy, but you know what I mean? Like, the protagonist still did the thing that they wanted to do, and that was it. So
I think that, like, that's...
You know what I mean?
Because it's more about, like, the self-evolution of the program, because, like, we can't spoil the ending.
We don't want to get too literal.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, they self-evolved to the point where none of it was expected that what was going to happen happened.
But I mean, they start off being pretty aware. Like,
all he knew was he was alone.
but he's still having.
He was good at observing.
But he's having complex
He was
thoughts, though.
great at falling.
Yeah, that's just to show you that there's no fall damage. That was a game. Like,
Yeah, I know. But
Story
this
justification
is
for a game.
Yeah, they felt like, oh, cool, this is you tutorializing story. So it didn't have that impact for me at all. So and the thing is, like, you're having characters where it's like, okay, again, like they start off with it's like this is their first thought. So assumedly, the character has just been generated, like the AI has just been created from nothing, and you're already starting off with having complex thoughts. So it didn't feel like much of an evolution when it's like, I'm talking about the interpersonality between two AIs that have just been formed. It's like, okay, you're having complex opinions about each other and how you feel about each other, when, like, you should be like, I'm a square. I am moving to the, like, you're not.
Well, that's like a human thought, though. Like, if you're talking AI, like you've just mentioned iRobot and things like that, like, where the AI adapts and evolves very quickly.
But, like, what I'm saying is, if you intend on having the arc be evolution, like, you need to start out slow. It didn't start out slow. It was straight up, like, advanced AI. There was no, like, you've seen The Fifth Element, yeah?
Yeah.
Where the character in that one is learning and learning and learning and becoming more intelligent. That's the sort of thing that would have served this game a lot better had it been a slow progression of.
But then how slow would a game like that be? Like,
it went for 4 hours. Like, you could take some extra time.
Yeah, but
that's okay.
it doesn't need to be any longer.
If you're weighing your game on being a storytelling game, so, like, the gameplay wasn't super involved. For a lot of the levels, like, there were some levels that I spent maybe 10, 15 minutes on, but, like, even some of the late game levels, like, some of them I was just like, bang, 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 like 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's focus on the gameplay bit now, because we'll be here all day if we want to talk story.
Fine.
But, yeah, so you felt the gameplay itself, the levels themselves were a little bit too easy still?
Some of them, yeah, like, it didn't feel like it amped up, and, like, the parts that it did, and you're probably not going to like this side of the demo, but
I don't like any of this.
It felt like a lesser Meat Boy. There was a lot of, quick deaths, quick respawns. That's fine, that's good in a game where you can die, yes, for a platformer especially. But here's the thing, there was verticality in those levels. And I spoke to you very briefly about this before, and I'm going to elaborate on it. There were verticality and platforming in these levels that was pretty unwieldy. There was, like, large overhangs that you jump into, you hit your head on, and then you fall, and it wastes your time. Now, you get a game like Meat Boy, which takes something from one of my favourite games, which is Mega Man X, and you got the wall jump. Doesn't matter how many overhangs you've got, because you can slide down that wall and jump out. In this, you have to do that sort of, like, pixel perfect, have enough of your feet hanging off the cliff when you jump to make it out and upwards, up and to the right, like the game was asking you to. Otherwise, you hit your head and you plummet and you're, like, 4 or 5 platforms down, and you just got to do it again and again. Like, there's no, like, if you're going to have quick checkpoints, that's fine. There were checkpoints, they were for, like, death purposes. It was like, oh, there's a spike pit or whatever, and it's not going to send you all the way back to the start of the level, right? But there was nothing when it came to the jumping puzzles, and it felt, and, like, I was frustrated that I was spending time doing that. I'm like, Not that I wanted to get the game over and done with. I didn't hate it that much or anything like that. But it's just like
could have fooled the listeners.
No. I'm being critical, yes, but I don't feel like I'm being unfair. Like, if a game wastes your time, that's not cool. Like, a game is there to make you enjoy your time with it. If I sit there feeling like I have to do the same thing over and over again, purely because of the way that it's been put together, like it's like fake difficulty. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a hard jump. I move to the right and I press the jump button and I get from platform here to platform here. Now, if you put an overhang there and there's a pit here, then like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to butt my head on it and I'm going to fall down. I'm going to have to do it again and again. And it stops being fun after like the 3rd time or the 2nd time even. So that's the thing. Like, you've got something like Meat Boy where you've got much harder platforming, I would say. Like, that game is designed
much harder.
Much harder.
Yeah, it's designed so you
designed
bang
to
your
break
head
you.
against a wall
repeatedly
until you either
give
will
up
yourself,
or,
give up, or more often than not through a bit of dumb luck.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, like, a lot of the Meat Boy levels are also very vertical. This game had a lot of vertical levels. There was definitely some like horizontal movement. There was plenty. But the game, like you said, up and to the right, up is one of the things that it was doing. And for me, the up wasn't good. Like, there were some characters. When I got the character, there's a character that can double jump. When I got that, like any level that character was in, smashed it. Because it's like, alright, I'll just do the old sort of jump out and then jump up. Easy. Like, don't even worry about it. But then you've got like the little guy, like the little square, the one, the angry one that you were talking about, who can jump like I can step higher than he can jump. Like that was designed. It was designed that way for him to be annoying to use. But then when you've got like little lips like that, and it's just it gets to the point where I'm just like, fucking, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So that.
Well, I don't know what you mean, because that just sounds like nitpicking to the point
Yeah, I
that
don't
it's
think I have
almost
those
fucking
same sort of
broken.
issues. I didn't have any beef with the gameplay whatsoever. I mean, sorry, I retract that. There was some, maybe it was too easy for a bit too long, but
Well, yeah, like I'll agree with that. But the only difficulty
I didn't have any of those sort of issues though.
Did you have any difficulty during the game?
There was a level here or there where it was a bit more involved and you had to spend a bit more time, but
was
it
that
was a
like,
relatively
puzzle,
it was
or
a
was
relative
it
it was the
getting
puzzle.
Okay.
It was a relatively predictable sort of gameplay loop though, that you could kind of see, okay, I've got this, so now I'm going to have to use this here and here and here, and so you never were beating your head against it for too long because you understood. Here's a new character, the mechanics, I'm going to have to use that character in collaboration with the others to allow me to progress in this sort of way, typically through these sort of puzzles. So it became kind of clear what you had to do pretty early. But
okay. Let me tell you the bit that I did like a lot. Like,
holy shit! Everyone listening to this.
All right, you like something?
Like, deal with the hurt. Like,
I will deal with the hurt when I can have my 2 cents. So
all right. Drop a tear and then we'll move on. The part where you've got the anti-gravity character.
Yeah.
With it's just the two of you. It's just the character you start with, and then a character that's basically that character's inverse.
The inverse,
yeah. Even personality-wise.
Yeah.
It's the inverse. Whereas the character you start with is alone, but an extrovert, like wants to have other people and wants to be with other people and, you know, wants to like be involved and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got the other character who starts alone and his gravity is flipped. So he jumps so instead of jumping from ground to ceiling, he's on the ceiling and he jumps towards the ground, basically, yeah? And he is by himself and he's an introvert. He likes it that way. And those two end up, you know, pairing up. And then you've got there's this really cool level where you start off that they spawn and then they drop towards each other and they land on each other. And you can sort of shift and shift. You can sort of like,
shimmy your way down.
Yeah, it's like that troll image of like infinite walk. Walk on each other's feet and you walk.
Troll physics.
Yeah, troll physics. That's the one. Yeah. So it was like, but it was actually like that, and I'm like, I would happily play because there was a really cool part where if you swap to the right one and jump. So if you swap to the anti-gravity one and jump, he jumps downwards, so it puts the pair of you downwards because the other one falls.
Yeah.
So you jump down, the other one falls to medium.
Yeah.
You swap to the other one, it jumps up, the other one falls to medium upwards.
Yeah.
I could have played a whole game of that. Like, there was not enough.
That was quite clever.
That was fantastic. And, I mean, if you've got a game called Thomas Was Alone, you need one friend. That's all you need. Because you have him alone for a while, you start putting him in situations where it actually gets real tough. Because, again, they tried to have a little bit of that Portal thing where it was like, okay, I'm testing you, and I'm going to start making it one step, and it, again, says it in the script, it's one step ahead of your skill curve. If they had have kept that skill arc going, and then add another character, you've got a whole new skill arc to go with. That's all you needed, one. And then, if you want to take that other one away, you're only left with just the character you start with. That, for me, would have been a much more engaging game. Like, that was, for me, the best gameplay element. I don't know how you felt about it. The anti-gravity, for me, was great.
No, it was cool.
No, that was one of my favourite parts, actually.
Exactly, yeah. It was
well done.
It was, yes.
Simple but clever. It was well executed. That was fantastic, that bit.
And then when you had the two together, it was great. Like, even though you were sort of shimmying along and you were only making like a little bit of headway, like just having the focus that you had on that and how the characters could interact with each other. And then if you fucked it up and they just went like to the other end of the levels and you had to sort of like bring them back and then sort of do it again. It was like, I thought that was way more engaging. There was so much there, and it just felt like I could have definitely done with more of that. Like, that was really good, and the sort of interplay between that being kind of like a polar opposite, but still working towards the same goal. Like, that'd be like if Link got together with Dark Link and they both took down Ganon. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be really fucking cool, and you'd be like, all right, awesome, that's fine. And the elements of being by yourself would have resonated a lot more, because if you were alone for a lot longer, and then you've got this character who you're now with, but it's also kind of the polar opposite, so it's like, well, we're helping each other, and I'm no longer alone, but do we want to be with each other still? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a way more engaging, and like it's so much deeper. You know what I mean? It just didn't, like, the whole sort of alone part of it, I mean, it's in the title, so it's supposed to be a big element. It just didn't feel like it was there enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, that there wasn't enough isolation. Like, you play games like Metroid, it's all about
built on isolation.
Exactly. So, I don't know. That's where I'm coming from. And look, I'm not trying to say it just to piss you off. Because
a little bit.
No, not at all. If I wanted to, I could like tear ass. I'm not. I'm trying to be
Diplomatic about it.
Well, not diplomatic. I'm getting my point across with actual evidence. I'm not trying to just be like, game was shit, man. I didn't fucking. It wasn't. It was a decent platformer, and the physics were good. The physics were fine. The movement was fine. It was like the jumping was fairly tight when I wasn't hitting my head on overhangs. It was fine. Like, but that's the thing. Like, the parts didn't come together the way that I felt like they should. You know what I mean? And look, that might be my baggage. That's fine. But I just feel like they had a lot that they could have done to really like drive home the point that they were trying to make. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I can tell you disagree because you're not.
I do. I completely disagree.
Before we start winding things down, any like final thoughts on either story or gameplay?
Well, before we wind anything down, let him have his response.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like any final thoughts on that before I start kind of getting into
it? Final thoughts on that aspect. Yeah. Dude, tear ass if you want to tear
like,
ass, that's fine. Go for it.
You keep bringing up that, Thomas was alone for like 2 minutes. But like, I'm okay with that. Because like when the next character gets introduced, like he's fucking ecstatic. Like that personal growth right there. It's like, wow, shit, other people exist in this place. Like, because he gets pretty sick of being alone very quickly. He's like, he was evolving. He just wished he had someone to share it with. And then, bam, Claire rocks up. There's water, and you can't go in the water. You jump on Claire, you can float across the water. Like, straight away. There's an answer straight away to any problems that you have.
Well, that's my point. Like, that's the whole point.
But that's the same as, like,
if you want to make a story where the character is in a sad situation...
I don't think they wanted to go into a sad situation. I think that, there's a bit of emotion to it and things like that. But who wants to play something that's fucking depressing? Like, you want to play something.
But that's my point. Like you like if
The
you
Last of Us.
yeah. But if you want to
just to play
if you want to have
just to play devil's advocate.
if you want to have high highs, you have to start with a low low. Like if you want that, because that meeting didn't feel important to me because it was so fast. The problem was resolved so quickly.
Well, that's you though. Like I was like, oh, cool, and like,
you know, that's
my point. It shouldn't be, oh, cool. It should be, finally another someone.
Well,
you know
no,
what I mean?
because that to me sounds like you've had fucking such a shit time that you've gotten someone and you're like, oh, about time. This was just getting on your fucking nerves.
Yes.
I don't want a game that does that. I enjoyed this game thoroughly.
No,
like,
I'm talking that exact thing that you said from the character's perspective, not from the player.
well, I think the character was done perfectly. I'm gonna keep saying that because
that's fine. Like, everyone's
they
tasty.
progress.
Look, man, I'm not trying to
Cool.
I'm trying to shit on a game that you love at all.
Yeah. Well, can I finish my points without
absolutely.
the interruption?
Of course.
Thank you. Like, all right. So with the story, the gameplay, I love the character change was so easily as such as clicking on the buttons. I played it on a controller twice. I really liked how the shapes are all different color coded, so you kind of remembered, like, down the bottom of the screen, they had how each shape, like, so if you press the right bumper or left bumper, it would show, you know, it's like, shit, I need the tall, long guy because I need to jump up here to touch the button. Okay. And it was like, bam, bam.
Subtle enough prompts.
Yeah, and, like, you know, the levels were all very, like, you know, just the black outline made the shape, but then the background kind of changes colour for the different scenes and things like that. You know, I love the little trophy hunt, like, you know, there's little shapes that you can go out and extend your difficulty at the same time, but it's not necessary. It's just, you know, if you're a trophy whore, go for it. Yeah, my sister got all of them. Like, the story progresses in a good enough pace, and then when, like, you know, it all happens, there is that set of emotion that comes through. I just thoroughly enjoyed the game. Like, yeah, it is quite easy, and it's easy enough to smash through it and things like that, but it's a puzzle with shapes on a 2D platform. Like, to me, it almost feels nostalgic, and then when you look at the ending, I think that was what it was aiming for, is to be nostalgic, because it wasn't, that last image isn't recent. It's a very old system. Yeah. And I think that's what it was all about. Like, to me, this felt like Chip's Challenge, or, I don't know, like an Atari game with more depth and colour and an actual narration. And
we've also got to look at things in a different way. Like, Mike Bithell, who made the game, he was on his own for this. He did it completely on his own.
Yeah.
Mike Bithell was alone. But it wasn't at all funny.
No,
but either way,
that wasn't funny.
Either way.
But
so
speaking of another Thomas that was alone, Thomas Happ made Axiom Verge.
Yeah, and that was going to be the next thing compared to.
Like,
yeah, no, they're poles apart. I mean, Mike Bithell's gone on. He released Volume last year, which is I don't know if either of you have played it.
I saw that it was advertised.
It's on PlayStation only at the moment, I think.
I think it's on Steam. I think it was advertised.
Maybe, but right. Okay. Yeah, and that's a kind of a stealth game. Very, very well done, very clever, and one certainly to go out and play. It's just released for Vita as well, so get on that one. But and I think he did a slightly better job of his storytelling in that. Like, you can tell he's learned a lot from, in my opinion, the very few flaws that there are in Thomas Alone. I know you've got a few more beasts than I do. And I've probably got a few more than Damo does. But like, in general, I still quite enjoyed the experience. But you could tell that in terms of my beast, with the way the story was told in Volume, it's kind of paused you to take in the conversation that's going on. You're not losing it in and amongst the gameplay, which was my issue and those sorts of things. So you could tell he's come a long way just from that one release prior. But yeah, that's.
I mean, the writing was not bad. Like the writing was good.
Yeah, for me, it was just the way it was told.
Yeah,
the writing was fantastic. Damo's read out a few great quotes so far.
I didn't have any issue with the way it was told either. It was just the way that the story flowed for me. It didn't feel like it captured what the title captures. So when I look at a game for the first time, especially one that's on a digital distribution system, all I have is screenshots and the title. And then if I want to read the synopsis, I read the synopsis. But for a game that's story heavy, you don't do that because it might have,
spoilers.
Spoilers. You want to have the game tell its own story so you can draw your own conclusions, which we all obviously have. So for me, I have like how we were talking before, how you didn't even think of it that way, like that.
Yeah.
So my point is, so all I have is screenshots of different shaped rectangles or squares. Fine, that doesn't tell me much. That's good. And I've got the title of the story. Now from there, the story just didn't feel like it was telling what the title was all about.
Yeah, maybe the title didn't quite suit what actually played out in the story, but that's... I understand, because you're right in terms of what you said before, that he's very rarely alone, so then that title maybe isn't the right name.
So would you name it then?
I'm not...
I mean...
I'm not a creative...
Thomas was briefly alone?
Thomas wakes up?
Let's not dwell too much on that. But, your points are valid. Quick solution, and I do say quick solution is a name change that suits what actually plays out a little
I
better.
actually like the name.
Not a big deal.
And I actually... All I'm saying is it should have been more. They should have gone deeper with it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that you had the opportunity to actually, push it right to its limit and say, okay, we can tell a really engaged... so probably a parallel that I would draw would be Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Where you've got your two characters.
Yes.
Now, if you take the interaction between those two characters, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people talk about how the interaction between those two brothers, regardless of the gameplay, some people said the gameplay was unwieldy. I've not played it.
No, it was quite good.
But the storytelling was
tough to get around.
Interaction between the two characters. Now I'm saying if you have a large portion of a game where you're alone, you're giving yourself that change when you introduce another character and then you've got two characters to you. Exactly. And you then have the Thomas was alone portion. And then you look back and you're like, man, that sucked, but now I'm in a better place. And I feel like they really could have taken it that. Do you know what I mean? So, I want to make it very clear. I'm not shitting on this game. I played it through to the end, and I didn't have to force myself to... I wasn't like, oh God, my fingers are bleeding because I hate everything. No, it was fine. I was able to finish the game, and I went on and played a portion which I didn't realise was DLC, because I'm like, alright, I'm going to hammer through all of this. I wasn't going to half-ass it.
Yeah, I think it's just bundled in now with Steam these days.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it
was just part of it. And I was like, that's weird for that to be unlocked at the start. Yeah, it's probably story-related. I didn't realise that it was... Yeah. And it turns out I think it's prequel-y type stuff. So play that after the game, I'd recommend. But that's the thing, I'm not trying to shit on it. I don't want that to come across that way. I just think that there are a lot of better ways that they could have done things to make a lot of the stuff that they had, which is, you're giving literally a 2D square, rectangular shape personality.
And he did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. That's what I'm saying. You opened up a door for yourself. It was done so well that you could have done that more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You had the opportunity. That's all I'm saying. I just feel like there were missed opportunities. Gameplay aside, that's possibly a beef that I have with platformers in general. Some of them just don't handle right. You look at Mario, and there's very few overhangs in that game because it's a fucking nightmare to deal with. They have them now because you can wall jump. Again, like Mega Man. You know what I mean? Like that. And you look at old Mega Man. They tried that once. Elec Man stage, Mega Man 1 or 2. They've got the overhangs right at the start of the level. It's a fucking nightmare. From then, they only ever use verticality like that when there's a gimmick, like a Bubble Man stage or something, where you're riding something up. Yeah. So, all I'm saying is, that's tried and true. That's 20, 30 years old now, tried and true. So, that's not necessarily just my opinion. That's platformers. Moved away from that very quickly because it's hitting your head and having to do it over and over and over again. It's not fun. The stage.
And as a first game, he's probably learned from that.
Oh, absolutely.
If you return to a platformer, because Volume isn't a platformer in the same way, it's a top-down stealth game. But if you return that, probably wouldn't make those same sorts of choices again. And they're things you learn from development. It's just
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
that sort of
he
thing.
definitely opened up a lot of doors for himself with it, and I think it was well made because of that.
You'd be okay with a sequel? Should they ever do it? No. You'd like it to just stand alone?
Yeah, because it's the.
Wow.
I'm trying to squeeze these little jokes in.
The whole thing was like it doesn't need a sequel because it's a whole story, and if you were to read it like a book, like, would you want to?
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't recommend another story.
Yeah,
that's right. No, I'm of the same.
Yeah.
I'm the same opinion. I wouldn't want to see another one.
Yeah.
Draw lots of similarities to some future work, fine, but I wouldn't want to see Thomas or his friends again.
Like I said before, though, some of the mechanics I'd happily see again.
Yeah, no, recycle a few of those, and that's great.
I mean, the best thing you could want is like Thomas to appear in another game, like
cameo appearance.
Yeah, like nothing that not playable or anything like that. Like, pardon?
IDAR. Considering that the original characters for that were a jumping rectangle, a jumping red rectangle.
Alright, so we'll wrap this thing up. So if you're at all interested in Thomas Was Alone, you can pick it up on PC, Mac, PS3, Vita, iOS, Android, Xbox One, which is the most recent release that came out in 2015.
If you have more than
PS4 and
enough,
Wii U,
you can play.
If you've got basically any system except for a 3DS,
put Nintendo together with two
then
coconuts.
you can pick up Thomas Was Alone on any of those systems.
It's on 3DS?
It's not on 3DS.
Okay.
But then, virtually everything else. Virtually every other modern console.
Yeah.
And 360.
Did it have a soundtrack?
Probably.
Nothing.
You'd probably be able to find
You know what? Though?
Yeah,
It was nothing.
Did you see
It was just ambient noise, really. Like it wasn't.
It was insignificant. That part.
Yeah, I think the narration.
No, there was some music.
Yeah. No, but that's
that
what
okay,
I
which
like,
didn't have a
there was definitely definitely some okay music. Yeah, it's probably a soundtrack.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember when you boot up the game, it had like
but like it was nothing like that you'd turn down any other sounds and things like that to hear it much better. I found. I think because the focus is on that narration.
I definitely had the narration volume way above anything else.
So big thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up for Damo. 2 thumbs up for me.
Mixed.
Yeah. Well, look, and that's cool. Yeah, I was salty.
Still,
it's gonna happen. But like love.
We all kind of agree that's the nature of it.
Oh, I know he's not going to like the next game. The one that I picked, that is a love or hate.
As we wrap it up, we'll actually talk about that now. So that was the end of our first Player2 Video Games Club.
Yes.
Thomas Was Alone. Next month we're going to be doing Killer 7.
Killer 7.
That's Jay's game.
Yes.
Damo, you've already...
Yeah, I knocked it out.
I'm the only one that's yet to play it, so I believe that copy's floating around in this house somewhere at the moment. I'll be grabbing that and getting into it as soon as possible. That'll be a game for next month. So until then, make sure to hit up the site player2.net.au, catch us on YouTube, subscribe, Twitter.
Yeah, follow us at Tacos Talks.
Crowbar your own little thing in.
It's my Twitter handle, man.
Yep, too easy. Other than that, it was good to see you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yes, we will.